Hello, everyone. Today is September 11th, 2025. The time is 2:09 in the afternoon here in Albuquerque. That means it's a little after 4 p.m. on the East Coast. Hope everyone's well today. Hope you're doing good. It's the anniversary of 9/11, so we might talk a little bit about that today. Coming on a little earlier than normal. Uh, Again, today is September 11th, 2025. And the temperature right now is 88 degrees in Albuquerque. And the leaves are starting to fall, starting to show signs of autumn. Pretty mild day. Like I said, the leaves are falling and they're starting to turn colors a little. Uh, Today, the sun will set at 7:18 p.m. and it'll rise tomorrow at 6:47 a.m. And let's get right to the show. What you're seeing on screen right now is an orb that I filmed the other night. And let's see, this video lasts just 2 minutes long. But you're going to see at some point in this video, I'll point it out to you, this thing will disappear and then reappear. But for now, let's notice that it is traveling through the sky. If you look closely at the pixelation, you can see pixelation moving behind it. So the orb is going right to left here. And I filmed this in the middle of the night. Here I'm zooming out with my Samsung tablet, and it's not a very good camera. You could see there, it barely picks it up. Um, Normally, I'm not able to film orbs because they're so small and dim. But this one was, I would say, just a little bit smaller than Jupiter, but still big enough and bright enough for my cheap camera to pick it up. So there it is going across the sky. And another thing you'll notice, like I said, there's pixelation all around. If you look closely, you could see how it's going from right to left. And and we're coming up on it disappearing. But I'm going to press pause for just a second and point out that you look right around it, right in the vicinity around this orb, you can see that it's not an airplane. There's nothing there but the light. There's no solid object around it or above it. So it's not a plane, it's not a balloon, it's not a helicopter. It's what we see here is just a light. And in about 10 seconds, you're going to see it disappear and then reappear. Watch for it. Keep watching it. Keep watching it. Whammo. Do you see that? Let me go back. We're going to watch this a few times. Look at it. Do you see that? It almost seemed like it exploded. And then I'm going to watch this several times here before we move on. Go back 5 seconds. Wow, look at that. It just disappears and reappears within 1 second. Incredible. All right. And another thing I want you to notice is uh, the fact that it looks just like a star or a sun, or excuse me, not a sun, a star or a planet. You know, when you see these amateur footages of stars and planets, they don't look at all like the official footage. The official footage will show us a solid sphere, but amateur footage, even with really nice cameras, will show something looking like this when you look at a planet or a star in the micro telescope. Excuse me. And yeah, All right. And it looks like some people are trickling in here. Rebecca's here. Hi, R. Rebecca says she's driving. She will be listening. She has seen these too. And David's here. Good to see you, David. Rebecca asks, what do you think they are, Joe? Um, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it would be naive of us to think that there's something good. I hear some people saying that they're souls or they're angels. Um, I don't know, you guys. We live in a world that's so artificial. Um, I don't know if it's safe to assume that those things are anything malevolent. Who knows? Who knows what they are really? And I wonder if they're connected to the that weird wire in the sky that I took a photo of. Um, and one more quarter is here. Good to see you. One more quarter says, cheers, Joe. Crazy times. Hope you are well. You too. All right. All right. And we are living in crazy times, people. We are living in crazy times. Um, However, one of the things that I wanted to discuss today is time itself. We all know that in recent years, it seems like time has been speeding up, right? Don't have time for anything. And it's real critical to get your stuff done early in the day. If you have chores to run and all that, get it done early in the day because time is moving so fast uh, that it's hard to get caught up. Um, However, I don't know if you guys have noticed any of this, but in recent weeks, for real, I have noticed time slowing down and things feeling more normal the way they did when I was a kid. Um, and when this happens, it's only like a glimpse. It only feels that way for a little bit, but it does feel slowed down. So I don't know if any of you are experiencing this. Um, and maybe this is psychological. Maybe this is just because it's the fall now, or we're coming up on the fall, 10 days or so. So yeah, I don't know. Is it psychological? Am I just feeling sentimental? Because people tend to get sentimental during the fall. Um, the sunlight gets a little more mellow in the fall. And it really feels to me like time is slowing down. And that's pretty cool. Uh, People's behaviors are crazy, but, well, that's the world we live in, right? So that was story number 2. Moving on to story number 3. Get joy. Get joy. Get joyful, people. Well, I think most of the people who come around here are pretty joyful. It's real important, you guys. Uh, I live in the hood, and uh, when I go to the stores and when I'm driving around, I'm seeing more and more desperate behavior. And you want to help people, right? I mean, one of the reasons we're here, one of the reasons you're watching this channel is because you want to help. You don't want to live in this world that's deceptive and artificial and beast, right? We want something better. We want peace. It's really important to pray for others, to have compassion for others who are in, especially the downtrodden, right? Um, but there's only so much we can do for people. Um, I really think that kind of, keeping to yourself and being joyful and surrounding yourself with things that bring you joy and working on your attitude and working on yourself, I really think that's where it's at. I think that if people get joyful, not only is it contagious, here comes a plane, excuse me, a lot of air traffic today. Um, where was I? Not only is joyfulness contagious, like to the person next to you or around you, um, I think when you're joyful, it'll send out a vibration to all of humanity, to the whole world, right? And it raises the vibe. So, this whole sort of truth movement that we hear about, I'm also interested in peace and being a part of making the world a better place. I'm not just pointing out the deceptions and speaking truths, you know. I'm I want this sort of movement to be a movement that encourages joyfulness and changing the world for the better, stuff like that. And I've shared with you guys before, um, that I've struggled with depression and all that. It's real important to watch your comedies, watch those comedies, keep laughing. Let's see. Back to driving and listening. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Some workmen are here installing a new water heater, getting a new water heater today. So, been busy. What did David say? David says, no, one more quarter says, eat more chocolate. Eat a chocolate bar. It helps slow time. It's a real long chew. Well, that's a good point, because sometimes doing something like reading will slow you down, and that's another thing that'll slow you down. Just sitting down and reading especially if it's a physical book. And I've told you guys that sometimes I have a hard time reading a physical book. Like, I feel like getting back onto the screen. That's screen addiction, right? That's screen addiction. Hope everybody's cool. Hope everybody's doing good today. Hope you're mellow. And we'll see if some people filter in here. I've been meaning to do a show. And last night I thought, hey, I should do a show while the workmen are here. You guys can give me some good luck. Everything goes smoothly. Okay, let's move on to story number 4. This wild and crazy idea of us living in a computer simulation. This wild and crazy idea of us living in a computer simulation. Is that what's going on? Are we seeing glitches and Easter eggs in our reality? And is this whole computer AI business, is this evil? Is it good? Is it both? Is it yet another option in this options world? You can choose it, or you can choose not to be around it, or you could use it for good, right? But either way, computers die, right? Computers die. What if we are living in some kind of computerized matrix? And what if that computer just up and dies? What then? Does that mean good wins out? Do we just have to sit around and wait for the thing to die? For the system to die? Um, that occurred to me the other day because I was thinking what a bummer it would be if my laptop died. Um, and Dean is here. Ahoy, mate. Welcome. All right. All right. All right. It's time for weather. Everybody look out the window, and if you're inclined to tell me what the weather's like where you're at, go ahead. Like I said earlier, Albuquerque's pretty mild today, 88 degrees last I checked. Let's see if it's changed since I started this show. I kind of think that it'll be 89 now. Let's see. No, still 88. And a little bit of rain in Albuquerque. We've gotten some rain. So that's pretty cool. And right now the winds are picking up a little bit. And that means that it might rain later. That's the indicator, at least here in the desert. When the winds start happening and they get swirly, and you could see that in the trees, once those swirly winds come around, that's when you know it's about to rain, or that's when you hope. But this is the rainy season in Albuquerque, and that's relative. That's a relative term for sure. And Dean says it's 9:30 in the UK right now, 9:30 at night. It's cool. He said it was like a tornado earlier today. All right. All right. Let's move on to sports. You guys wouldn't believe this athlete I saw with my own eyes. The other day I was chilling by the window and I hear this crashing sound. I look outside and this dude had hopped over the fence into my backyard from the major street that is a block away. And it's kind of it's a super sketchy street. Excuse me. This guy was on the run. I don't know who was chasing him, maybe cops, maybe gangsters. And he jumped that fence like nobody's business, ran across the yard, jumped onto another fence, then onto my detached garage. He was on the roof looking around, so scared, this poor guy. And then he jumped down, jumped back on the fence, jumped onto my neighbor's roof. My neighbor cut a corner to me, to my backyard. And he got on that person's roof and faded out of my life. And that was the last I saw of him. Hopefully he got away. I think he did get away from whatever danger he was facing. When I first saw him on my property, I got angry, and then as I watched what was going on, like I said, he was in and out of my life in 90 seconds. And what an athlete this dude was. You should have seen him scaling fences. Man, when you're hiding from the police or from whoever, it's good to be able to climb around. And one more quarter is here. Welcome. Well, I already welcomed you. Excuse me. One more quarter says, nice and warm today, digging up potatoes. I'm a little bit lightheaded because I haven't slept much and still haven't had my afternoon breakfast. But like I said, the workmen are here. They're installing a water heater for me. So that's pretty cool. I hope everybody's been well. I haven't done a show in a couple of weeks. Been working on some other stuff. Okay, so that's it for weather and sports. It's time for arts and entertainment. I'm going to do a, let me see here. I'm going to do a review of a TV show that I saw recently. I haven't seen it since the 70s when I was a little kid. And, uh-oh. Okay, can you see that? There he is, Grizzly Adams. And they tamed that grizzly for this show. And this show is early 1977. Look at that big bear. Look at the size of that thing. And it's a pretty entertaining show. I would recommend it. It's pretty relaxing, and there's a lot of footage of nature and all that. So that's pretty cool. Look at the size of that bear. That bear is called Gentle Ben, I think, because he calls him Ben. And my grandpa had a big paperback book collection, and one of his paperbacks was called Gentle Ben. I remember that, and it had a picture of a big grizzly bear on the cover. But pretty entertaining show. There's some pretty cool character actors and characters in it, and guest stars. 1977, 78. It only lasted those years. But like I said, I remember when I was a child in the 70s and people watching this show. I probably saw a little bit of it back then. But recently they started rerunning it again. And I've been watching. It's pretty entertaining. So check it out if you haven't seen that in a while. And that's all for arts and entertainment for now. Let's see. Yeah. All right, time for jokes and bullshit. If you have any corny jokes, put them in the chat. Two fish are in a tank. One says to the other, "How do you drive this thing?" You ever wonder if vegetarians eat animal crackers? You ever wonder if a parsley farmer gets sued, can they garnish his wages? Don't you hate it when people answer their own questions? I do. Knock, knock. Who's there? Madame. Madame who? Madame car broke down. And lastly, my favorite joke of all time. What did the rock say to the stick? All right. Does anybody want to talk about 9/11? I don't know if I have a lot to say right now on the subject. I might shut down the show in a little bit and start up another show later, and we can talk about it. Let's chill for a little bit. Try to figure out what to do next. All right, all right. And Dean has a good joke. I swapped all the spices around in the wife's spice rack. I didn't think she'd find out, but I think the time is coming. Cumin. Ah, I guess I did it wrong. I didn't think she'd find out, but I think the time is cumin. Pretty funny. Pretty good stuff there. It's an early show. It's only right now. It's 4:37 p.m. on the East Coast. Uh, looks like things are happening in the neighborhood. People out and about. And today is September 11th. So, yeah, thinking back on that just seems so crazy. That whole time period, all till now, is just different. Y2K was something, and then 9/11 was something, and 9/11 was really something. 9/11 changed everything. People don't behave the same way anymore, and so many things changed right when that happened. Um, we're living in a different world after 9/11, which was probably a witchcraft event. Um, I've said that many times. I do think that 9/11 was some kind of like a mass witchcraft deal, you know, mass trauma. There's something about mass trauma, worldwide trauma, all happening at the same time, which probably opened some kind of supernatural door, right? Some kind of portal business. Um, I've said many times that I think that the very shape of the two pillars and then the sideways either at first it was it was the airplane crashing, right? About two-thirds up the building. And then there was the black smoke for a long time coming out. I think that horizontal line, two-thirds up on the two pillars, some kind of hypnotic thing there, some kind of a hypnotic symbol. Um, and we see that symbol in other things in life, right? We see what it kind of looks like a capital H, right? I'm talking about two pillars and then a horizontal line. Kind of looks like a capital H, kind of like a capital P. The paragraph sign, remember that? And also the indentation sign, which is basically an arrow. These things all are symbols. Um, Also part of the hypnosis. All part of the hypnosis. Nate X is here. Welcome, Nate. Good to see you. And Dean says, imagine not being able to see all this. And by that, he means the great deception. That's what I call it. A lot of people call it that. Um, if you're new to this channel, we talk a lot about outside the box things and we get into conspiracy theory. Although I never hear anyone using that term, I certainly don't use that term. But ladies and gentlemen, we are all being lied to. And that's for the people new to the channel. We are all being lied to. And and we are lied to about pretty much almost all things, big and small. We're lied to about the way Earth was created, the way Earth looks, the way it's shaped. We're lied to about everything. Most news stories are fake. Most national network news stories are 100% fake, staged events. Um, and it's incredible. What's Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And you hear the response to that. And everybody's stuck on this left versus right thing. And everyone is convinced that it's a real news story. And I'm not even going to bother trying to break it down to see if it was staged or not. That's just one example of a news story that is probably staged, and even if it's not staged, it will be presented to the world in a way that will make people divide up against themselves. That's the big trick. That's the big trick. Okay, they are dividing us up on racial lines, political lines, religious lines, economic lines, cultural lines. And it's all a trick, and it's up to us, I think, to make the world what we want it to be. Like I was talking about earlier, surrounding oneself with joyfulness. Because there's only so much we can do for people. You want to help the world. You want to make the world a better place. I think everybody who comes here, I'm looking at the names in the chat right now, and I'm thinking of others who come here. I think we all are all of that mindset. Like, it's not enough to call out the evil establishment for lying to the human race. We have to do something ourselves that's better than that. Right? Sometimes it feels mentally like when you shut off things in the world, it's almost like they literally don't exist. And then as soon as you open the door to your home and walk out and go back out into the world, then it kind of re-exists. So yeah. Yeah. Bottoms up. I'm drinking black coffee. What are you guys drinking? Four Jacks is here. Welcome. Yeah, it is energy vampires everywhere to serve some wacky agenda. You see the footage of that poor girl in Charlotte who was stabbed to death on a looked like a train. Could be a fake news story, could be real. If it's real and those bystanders were just sitting there not helping, that's crazy. Also, there was a lady You could look this up on YouTube. This happened in the last few days. Where was it? I can't remember what state. It was here in the States. This 70-year-old lady had to bite, literally bite, B-I-T-E, a pit bull that was attacking her little dog. And you guys, they show the footage of this vicious pit bull going after this little dog, and this little old lady who weighs 91 pounds, she said. And she's fighting off, she's trying her best to fight off the pit bull, and there's dudes standing there watching her. And these are like young, able-bodied dudes. And I mean, they are literally standing there. They look over at her, and then they look away, aloof. We live in the world of aloof. It's like evil. Dean's drinking peppermint tea with zinc. They threw everything in but the kitchen zinc. That's interesting, Dean. I hadn't noticed that. You're talking about the victim on the train? I guess, yeah, because, okay, I'll look at that. That's interesting. And then Rebecca says, in what life is seeing any of this on prime time a good thing? What a gross realm. It's true. You know, we have to be open to the idea that those news stories were staged for a specific agenda, for us to see these aloof people who are uncaring, and to give us a more negative image of the human race than is realistic, than is real, right? In my opinion, we're living in a realm that is 50-50. It's like it's uh, half good, half evil. And it's easy, excuse me, it's easy sometimes for some of us to think that the evil has a grip on this material world, and it's easy to think that because the devil has infiltrated all these aspects of life. Excuse me. Education has been infiltrated by evil. The media, again, military, industry, finance, all that stuff seems to be under the control of some kind of darkness, right? Um, so it's easy for us to think that the framework of this realm that we're living in is artificial, it's evil, and it's in control. It is not. It is not. Just because darkness and evil has taken over those realms, those aspects of this reality, that doesn't mean they've taken over everything. Those are just plasticity. Those are just artificial things. We are still in control largely of our own surroundings, our own life and way of life. If you try hard enough, I think a person can. If one tries hard enough, a person can carve out a peaceful existence here, one that is maybe even mostly good for them in their world, right? And I'm not saying just isolate yourself and not care about anyone else but yourself. I'm not saying that. You know, we could still pray for the downtrodden. We can still wish for this world or pray for this world to become a better place. And we can, but the best way to do that is to sort of create your own world. Like I said, sometimes it feels like when you're really at peace, sometimes it feels like the rest of the world doesn't even exist. You know, and then again, like I said before, once you walk out your front door and you join up with the rest of it, you know, then it reappears, kind of like that orb. And I'll show you that orb again that I showed at the beginning of the show. I don't think anyone saw it except for Rebecca and and David. So let me bring that up in a minute here. Okay, what you're looking at here on screen right now is some footage that I shot the other night with my Samsung tablet, this little tablet, just kind of a cheap camera. Um, this camera doesn't pick up orbs normally, but this particular orb that's on screen right now was almost as big as Jupiter. It was big and bright. And so my camera picked it up. And as you can see here, I'm zooming out. You can barely see it, but it's going across the screen from right to left. It's moving from right to left. And notice a few things, you guys. Notice the pixelation around it, which tells you which direction it's moving. Notice the pixelation around it. And notice that there's only light. There's no solid object around the light. So that's no balloon. It's not a helicopter. It's not a plane. It's just a light. And no, it's not a drone either. If it was a drone, it would be the size of a small car and it would be one big light. So that's not a drone. Um, this is a bona fide UFO, and I see these all the time. So do you guys. It's another news story that should be headline news, but no one talks about these orbs that anybody can see, especially between 4 and 5 a.m. this time of year. Go outside and you just look at the sky for 15 minutes and you'll see at least one. It's so easy to see. I mean, they're everywhere. The activity is crazy between 4 and Can you hear that? Excuse me. Okay. So a couple things about this footage that I want you to notice. Like I said, it's only the light, so it can't possibly be some airplane or helicopter. But I want you to notice that it looks like a planet or a star. When shot with amateur camera, that is, when NASA shows us pictures of planets, they look like solid objects. But when regular people photograph these planets, they look like shimmering lights. And that's what this looks like. Looks just like a planet or a star. And watch this, people. Keep your eye on the object. Keep your eye on it. Wait for it. It's going to disappear and reappear right now. Watch. You see that? That's not a camera glitch. That happened. That thing disappeared and reappeared within 1 second. There. Let's watch it a couple more times. Disappears, reappears. Disappears, reappears. What on earth is that? And you can see from the pixelation, if you look at it closely, you can see that it's moving from right to left. So yeah. So there's that. I shot that just the other night. Let's see what's happening in the chat. I like that spice joke. I swapped all the spices around in the wife's spice rack. I didn't think she'd find out, but I think the thyme is cumin. That's courtesy of Dean in the UK. Good stuff. Yeah, I am too. R. I am too. There's not a lot of footage out there of orbs zoomed in. I found some footage, but they didn't. They were mostly like still photographs. I haven't seen a piece of footage like the one that I just showed you guys. So yeah, like I said, I wouldn't have been able to film it if it wasn't so big and bright. So I got lucky. This place doesn't want to let us go. Excuse me. This place doesn't want us to let go. But more and more folks are seeing through the facade. That gives me hope, Rebecca says. Yeah, it's true. More and more people are. I mean, just think of the things that we were taught that we talk about. Think of the reactions that we got 10 years ago compared to now. More people are starting to figure it out. You know, we still haven't gotten to a point where Americans can really see that the news is fake. You know, An American can accept that in Russia, the government fakes the news and tells the people that they have free press. So, in other words, the Russian government secretly controls the so called free press. Okay, Americans can accept that easily, that happens in Russia. Never in, but that same American, no matter how open-minded they claim to be or seem to be, that same American will deny flatly that anything like that could ever happen here in the States. Um, and it's probably like that in the UK too, and in other countries here in the West. We're convinced that 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 we're being told the truth, and that fake media and fake news stories, fake political events could happen here. They're so caught up in this divide by nations thing. They're so caught up in it. There's so much danger in that, in patriotism. There's danger in that. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Dean says it baffles me. Of all the things this world could be, it's a literal clown show. Yeah, yeah. Just think of the possibilities of this world, people. The potentiality, the potential. You know, it could be a heaven on earth. It could happen here. And yes, you're right, Rebecca. It is all ego that makes people not see through the facade. Uh, they figure they can't be fooled, not them. Um, what's baffling to it also is that everybody knows, every American knows that especially if you're over 40 or 50 or something, every American knows that the local political scene, local politicians are corrupt, stupid, inept. You know, people know this because they know the people who are inept and corrupt and in political positions. Maybe they went to school with them. Maybe they went to grade school with them. Maybe they've rubbed elbows with them a few times, and they all know it. They know this person is actually that person who is in charge of so much in this region, in this locality. I know for a fact that that person's a fucking idiot. I know for a fact that that person could be corrupted easily. So everybody knows that politicians are corrupt, but for some reason, people can't wrap their minds around this idea that the whole thing is just a phony framework. Okay, it's just a it's something that is deceitful. The political systems, military systems, financial systems, the work week, workaday things, the official frameworks of this life. This existence could be so different, but instead it's it's a place where the frameworks, the systems are controlled by some kind of darkness. Okay. But again, people, just because all these things that I've named are dark, that doesn't mean that we're under that. That doesn't mean that at all. The human has such creative powers that if you're having a peaceful day, that will go out to the world. That will change the world for the better. Okay, you guys, let's take a 20-minute break. Let's take a 20-minute break. I have to eat something, and I'll be back in 20 minutes. Thank you. Hello, people. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right. All right. There's no such thing as ice walls. How's everything going, people? Today is a good day. The workmen were here for the past few hours, but uh, they just split. I paid them. I got a brand new water heater. All right. Till the next time. Really, for real? You can't hear me? Check, check. 1, 2, 3. One more time. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? From what I'm seeing, it looks like you can hear me. Okay. Thank you, R. What's on your mind, R? What's on your mind, peoples? Glad I got that done. But these things. One of the top stories for today, you guys. Well, let me recap. Since we're going to start the show. Since we're going to start part 2 of the show right now. It is 3:50 p.m. in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That means it's 5:50 p.m. on the East Coast. Hope you're all doing great. Hope everything's cool. Hope everything's mellow. If you're going through challenges, I know you'll meet them. And let me close this window because they're working on cars next door. The sun will set tonight at 7:18 p.m. and it will rise tomorrow. What time at tomorrow? 6:47. 6:47 tomorrow. And we're just getting started here. I'm getting settled for part 2 of the show. I just realized the TV's on, making a lot of noise. Excuse me. Let me turn it off. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Excuse me. I have to look into that theory more. It is said that mainstream science has the narrative that there was a Sagittarius arm to the galaxy, but now there's not. I have to clarify that. Um, I'm going to Google it right now. Right now, I'm just going to ask, was there, no, what happened? I'll just leave it at that. What happened to the Sagittarius arm of the galaxy? What happened? Okay, here's what it says. The Sagittarius arm of the Milky Way hasn't happened to anything. It's a long-standing spiral arm, but recent discoveries have revealed a, quote, break, unquote, in it. Recent discoveries have revealed a break in it, forming a 3,000 light-year long splinter of young stars and gas at a significantly different angle than the rest of the arm. The unexpected structure is a spectacular example of a spur or feather. Hey, AI, you don't need to use the word spectacular. All right. This is supposed to be research. It's supposed to be antiseptic. This unexpected structure is a spectacular example of a spur or feather found in other spiral galaxies, providing valuable information about the Milky Way's overall structure, which challenges existing models of spiral arm formation and winding. Well, thank you. Thanks for clearing that up. So it hasn't disappeared, according to this. When I heard of the theory being put forward, the theory says that the narrative says that the Sagittarius arm disappeared. But now we're looking at this, and let me bring this up so you guys can read it if you're so inclined. Okay. So you can take a look at that. Press pause if you want. We were talking about that earlier, Ryan. Yeah. Just imagine it, people. Imagine, really imagine it. If you watch the news and the national news, and you really bought it. Uh, I learned that the majority of the evening news is fake probably 8 years ago, and it blew my mind. But now, no, more like 7 or 6 years ago. But anyway, now, if I'm like visiting family and we look at the national news or something, it's extraordinary to me that people believe this as real journalism. But yeah. The Sag arm got broke off. Well, according to the narrative, it just got splintered. Press pause. You guys get it? Calvin and Hobbes' cat has his palms pressed against. You see what's going on there? Press pause. I got you. I got you. Let's see. Right now, the winds are starting to pick up a little bit. It's a pretty day in Albuquerque. Some white billowy clouds in the sky. I don't know if you guys can see that. The mulberry tree in front of my house has got a few yellow leaves. Mostly they're green still. And they're starting to fall. The yellow ones are falling. Yeah. Changing seasons. If I look tired and sound tired, it's because I am tired. The workmen were here just a while ago. They just left. They put in a new water heater. But that meant I had to wake up earlier than is ideal. So, but I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer, but I want to thank you for hanging out earlier, keeping me company while they put in that water heater. And thanks for being here now. I haven't come on in a couple of weeks. Been busy with other things, but it's good to be back. I wonder if you guys can see those orange flowers waving in the wind across the street. You see those? That's a desert plant. And I love desert flowers because it's just amazing how they can grow without you watering them in a place like Albuquerque where the soil is just dead, light tan colored dirt. These desert flowers, some of them are beautiful. They're like lush and yellow and dark green. It's incredible. It's incredible. They get their water from underground. They have long roots. Ryan says, imagine someone getting offed and within an hour, the footage is all over the news and the internet. This doesn't happen in real life. Yeah, and a lot of these murder victims are, I don't know, they behave strangely on camera. There's a lot of there's a lot of signs where you could see that a lot of the killings that we see on the news are staged events also, even if it's an unknown person. Um, and they always cut off the footage just at the time when you need them to leave it there. Uh, yeah. I haven't seen a whole lot of the footage of the event that happened yesterday, but everything that's going on in the news and even on YouTube, the things that people are talking about, uh, they're all pointed in the direction of separating us from each other, making us hate each other, uh, distrust each other, make sort of brainwash us into becoming apathetic towards one another. Um, yeah, yeah, and that's another good point, Ryan. His family should be outraged at the platforms slash news agencies that have the footage of their family member being offed. Yeah, that's another thing we don't see is not enough people reacting the way people would react. In this case, the family. Yeah, why don't we ever see families like speaking out against the media prying into their lives at a most disturbing time of their lives. Another thing that happens is when a lot of times when these tragedies happen, these staged event tragedies, uh, the survivors and the families of the victims, somehow they become the most comfortable public speakers in the world, and they say just the right thing that needs to be said uh, for a certain agenda, and they're just so comfortable in front of the cameras, in front of the mics. We never see them microphone shy. Mic shyness is a real thing, you guys. Believe me. Being microphone shy is a real thing, and we never see people tensing up, acting extremely awkward and whatnot. Uh, and it's insane because if it's on the damn television, people think it's real. So it could be the worst acted out thing in the world, like the way the astronauts act, for example. And yet people buy it. Yeah, and then showing it over and over. Yeah. What else, people? What else? Um, a big story for today is that I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but in the past few weeks, I've experienced time slowing down and things feeling kind of like normal. And what happens is I'll get like a glimpse of this, and it'll only last, I don't know, 8 seconds, maybe more, maybe longer, maybe minutes long. But I'll start to feel like time has slowed down and it feels normal and good, feels like it used to. I don't know if that's psychological. I tend to get sentimental and happier at this time of year. Um, well, not on this day, September 11th, but September is the best month weather-wise in Albuquerque. September is the best month weather-wise in Albuquerque. So maybe I'm just feeling sentimental for the good old days, and that's what made me think that time might be slowing down. But I do think that time might be slowing down. Maybe something cool is about to happen in a big way. And then the other story was just a friendly reminder, people. It might feel sometimes like the beast system is over us and this world is a beast world, an evil world. I really think it's half and half. It's 50. This world is 50% evil, 50% good. Um, and just because that troublemaking 50% evil has taken over systems, all systems in our lives, those systems are artificial. And and that doesn't mean that evil is in control of this world. That just means evil got control of these artificial systems or created them to begin with. It's what it really is. Um, I just noticed my neighbor out there. He's got what looks like a Vespa scooter. He's a lowrider, but he's on a Vespa scooter. I think he's just fixing it up. All right. Any thoughts on September 11th, anyone? Maybe if I get some energy later today or tonight or in the early morning tomorrow, maybe I'll do a quick little 9/11 show. You mentioned that last time, Dean, that you were learning how to play lowrider. You said you were playing it on guitar. And I never really think of that as a guitar song, but that's really cool. I always just think of the bass and the crazy and the cool vocals. Oh, oh, all my friends know the low rider. The low rider is a little higher. Dun 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 dun. I'm looking up the lowrider chords right now. See what kind of chords. So it's in G, but it utilizes the F. That's no surprise. And the C and the G. It has that same structure that Rock and Roll by the Velvet Underground has. I would never have guessed that. Let's and a Saturday by Elton John. That is the one chord and then two half steps below the one chord, which normally is not part of the key, but it's cool. And then you go up to the four chord and then back to the one. Hey Jude is like that too. We got Hey Jude, Saturday, Rock and Roll by the Velvet Underground, Lowrider by War. They all utilize this cool chord structure. Pretty cool. I would never have thought Lowrider had that chord structure. Call Stavely, Joe. Let's see. 978. Oh man, what was his number? 970. I know I'd recognize it if I saw it. Do you know it by heart still? I know it started out 1978. So 978 something, 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 something. Boston Ray is here. Welcome, Boston Ray. And he says, and Boston Ray says, I texted him this morning. No answer. Well, he was out there making a living, probably. Oh, by the way, for those of you people in the community who think Brian did something wrong by getting a job, welcome to this funny world we live in. Someone said recently that Brian could do both. He could sell real estate and continue making Mandela Effect videos and 9/11 videos and what they call conspiracy theory videos. But you guys, if he did that, don't you know what would happen? Potential clients of his will Google his name to check him out, to make sure they're dealing with a righteous fellow or someone who doesn't have too many recent problems with the law or anything like that. They check them out. People check out their real estate agents, especially when they're buying high value property. So if Brian was a real estate agent who did conspiracy videos on the side, that's what they call them, right? The general public calls them conspiracy theory videos. You guys know what would happen. The normie would-be client would look up Brian, find all this weird, crazy shit, weird and crazy to them, and then they wouldn't want to work with him anymore. So Brian did the smart thing, put all the videos on stupid Rumble where nobody goes unless you really, really want to see them. And they might not even be there anymore. I would advise anyone in that position to just get rid of all the videos. Shit, I delete my videos all the time. I've been doing this for going on 4 years now. And you can't find old videos of mine, thankfully. Nobody remembers Stavely's phone number, the Dose of Reality show's phone number. I feel like there was a 3. Wait, 978. Oh, shit. Wasted away again in Margaritaville. Searching for my lost shaker saw. Some people claim that there's a woman to blame, but I know it's my own damn fault. Wasted away again in Margaritaville. Searching for my lost shaker soul. Some people say that there's a woman to blame. I know. How's Christian, Ray? Speaking of Christian Knapp. Rebecca offers 867-5309. That rings a bell. That a ring dong duchy. I think 867. Oh, wait a minute. What are you talking? Rebecca, you got me. I just realized what that is. 8675309. Nice one, R. Nice one. Took me a minute. Ryan got it. Nice. Nice. I once tried to write a commercial jingle with those numbers. 978-435-0006. Dang. And Nate remembered it too. 435-0006. 978-435-0006. And Ray says Christian is good. Send him my regards, Ray. Maybe you can tell him old Joe Martinez says hello. Jenny, who can I turn to? Did I tell you guys the story about 8675309 song? Okay, here's the story. When I was in the 6th grade, that song became real popular, 1982. And at that time, and maybe still now, 867 was an Albuquerque prefix. So I picked up the phone one day and called 8675309. And a dude picked up, and do you know what I said? It wasn't very clever. I said, "Is Jenny there?" He said no, and he was completely like exhausted in the way that he said no. So I said something rude and hung up on him. Great times. Way to use your head, kid. Firing on all cylinder. Firing on all cylinders back in 82. I almost said all syllables. Let's call the voice. Prank call to Brian? Yeah. Rebecca's laughing. So is Nate. And no, no caller ID. Yep. Jenny, who can I turn to? I got nothing nothing I want. Honey, I got your number. I wanna make you mine. Baby, I got your number. 8675309. 8675309. 8675309. 8675309. Yeah. Thanks for the reminder, Nate. I did see that video, and I always appreciate it, people. When you send me videos to watch, um, I don't want you to do it willy nilly. But if you see something that you really think I might get something from, don't be shy about sending it to me. And I'm going to put my email address in the chat right now. Don't email unless I know your name, please. And please make it short, you guys. I've got a short attention span. for a for a good time call. Dot dot dot. Rebecca says, nobody wanted to be Jenny. I always thought of bathroom stalls. Yeah. Um, and yeah, it's real. Um, Mass psychosis, mass hypnosis. People are under a spell, seems to me. You know, a big part of the mass hypnosis is the fact that every action is contagious. You know, it's so silly. I remember back in the 90s when people were arguing about like whether or not children should be exposed to the Simpsons cartoon. And I worked with a lady at the time, and she told me that she had a 4-year-old or so, and this 4-year-old boy was watching Simpsons because the mother thought everything's cool, but then that kid started imitating Bart. And so the lady told me, yeah, so I said, fuck that. He doesn't watch Simpsons anymore. You know, but it's so funny to even debate whether or not children will imitate what they see on TV. Of course they do. And not only children, but adults too. Everybody imitates, and you can't help it. Even if you're like, think of the times you've been with a friend who's like seems like an authentic friend, and you pick up each other's mannerisms the more time you spend with each other. I'm thinking of like when I was younger. You'd be so social when we were young. Yeah, and you'd pick up mannerisms and expressions and sayings from the people you hang out with. Everything is contagious, not just to children, but to people, to adults too. Every action is contagious. Every action is imitatable. For a good time, for a good time call. And, that's why they tricked us into living in the cities, you know, and they did trick us. First of all, they tricked us into thinking that cities were built willfully by willful free Americans. Uh, and then that's the first part. The second part is they convinced us growing up that you've got to be a fucking like kind of a loser to live out in the country. Just a dumb hick living out in the country. What a trick that was. They convinced us that living in the city was fucking slick and cool and hip, and that living in the country was not those things. They tricked us. That was a 1-2 punch. They tricked us into thinking that free Americans built these cities because they wanted to. And then the second part of the 1-2 is they tricked us into thinking that cities were hip and the country isn't. It's such the opposite of the truth. And no way would anybody build a city willfully. No way would the population grow that way. It would never grow that way organically. Nobody would ever say, hey, instead of living right here and my closest neighbor is a football field away from me in length, why don't we, instead of doing this, let's go build a flimsy, shitty apartment building so that we're cramped up like mice and we live right next to each other. I can hear you coughing on the other side of my wall. Human beings would never in a million years populate the land of present day United States like that. No way. No way. It would be 250 million people spread out evenly. If it was built organically, it would look like that. The whole population would be spread out evenly. And it's true, Ryan points out. To be fair, Joe, you can you can definitely find some dumb hicks in the sticks. It's true. It's true. Dummies everywhere. On the screen right now, you see Grizzly Adams, TV show from 1977, 78. I recommend it. Look at the size of that bear, you guys. The life and times of Grizzly Adams. The acting is cool. It's pretty entertaining. They're showing reruns on cable right now. You could probably find it streaming. It's more entertaining than I would have thought. There's a lot of nature scenes, and that's pretty calming. And I like Dan Haggerty as an actor. And Grizzly Adams, the character, is kind of like a superhero because he can connect with animals and shit. So uh, check it out. Dan Haggerty, Nate remembers. Yeah, Haggerty's cool because he exudes decency. I don't know anything about Dan Haggerty, but as an actor, as Grizzly Adams, he does a good job, like a perfect job. It's like the perfect role for him. And I like how he has a sense of decency. As I said, he even when he's angry, he kind of has like a righteous indignation about him. Uh, yeah, I was surprised that show's pretty cool. I loved that show, Nate says, and the sound effects. I guess the animal noise sound effects. I'll let you guys go back and pause that one. Nate, maybe you can answer this question. This is goofy, and then we'll get back to the show, people. Uh, Nate, my grandpa had a paperback book collection, and he had a book called Gentle Ben, and it had a grizzly bear on the cover, but no Grizzly Adams on the cover. I'll bet that's Gentle Ben. This is trivia. This is trivia. But Ben had his own following, it seems. Oh, man. Gentle Ben. And then I'll reiterate another top story. This idea, people, that our reality is some kind of computerized, either a simulation or computerized creation. What happens when that computer dies, people? Thanks, Nate. What happens when that computer dies? Because it's inevitable, right? All computers die. What happens to the reality around us? If that's true, if that's the case, that our reality, our realm is computerized ultimately, what happens when that computer dies? Now I kind of feel like making prank phone calls, something I haven't done since the 80s. Except for that time in the 90s when I called my friend who was working at the t-shirt shop in the mall. Her name is Lori. Hi, Lori. Love you wherever you are. And she played bass in my band. And I'm going to release these recordings that we made because it was a pretty cool, kind of weird 90s band. And she played bass and sang beautifully. Yeah, and she worked at the t-shirt shop. And one time I called her and asked her if she had a shirt that said, "I'm with Stupid." And it turned into a kind of a long conversation. And then finally she figured out it was me. She said, "Joe." Yeah, I thought the same thing, R. If the computer, if this whole reality is somehow computerized, question, what happens when the computer dies, as all computers inevitably do? And Rebecca offers, it collapses, ... Maybe that is freedom, question mark? Yeah, I thought the same thing. Instant liberation. And Dean offers, it bites the dust, spelled BYTES. All right. Dean is rolling. And Nate gets the gold star for knowing the name of Grizzly Adams. Grizzly. Ben is his name. And Nate has worked with computers before for real people. So I'm going to read this comment from Nate. Computers that die slowly leak their stored electricity and start to decay, all the while still carrying on certain processing tasks, computer senility, and then eventually all components cease. Wow, man, that reminds me of a chicken running around with its head cut off. Maybe that's where we're at right now. Dean says they don't die, they are not alive. You know, it just occurred to me that maybe that's kind of what it is. It's a race. Who will die first, the human race, or it's a race. It's a race amongst the races, the computer race and the human race. Who will die first? Maybe that's why we're always taught about death. Maybe somehow, as I've said before, maybe somehow death doesn't exist. Maybe death is something that, maybe reality, even physical reality, is different for every individual person. I think the Mandela effect shows that in the regard that people are affected by Mandela changes at different times and sometimes not at all, whereas other people will be affected. The angles of the sun also point to this idea that the physical reality around us is tailored to the individual. And maybe in the individual's world, people die around that individual, but the individual never dies. Yet there's still a fork in the road for that individual, which path to take, righteousness and authenticity, or artificiality and facade. Basically good or bad. Maybe as a person lives through their life, if they continue doing good, maybe somehow the world changes around them eventually. Becoming something that is all good. I don't know. Ryan says, Joe, I'll race you to that brick wall. Ready, set, go. Ryan, you're not running. Ryan, oh. And Dean says, computer's first binary joke. 0110000101011001001. Pretty funny. Computer's first binary song. 011, Okay. Looks like we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for cheap jokes, and that's where the funnest ones are. And with that, people, we're going to call it a day. If I have strength later, maybe I'll come on and we can talk 9/11, but don't count on that. Like I said, I didn't sleep much last night, so I'm going to try to catch up on my sleep, get some things done. I hope you guys have a great day. Let's do shout outs. Rebecca, thanks for being here. Send me some videos if you find something cool. Oh, and I don't understand the transhumanist thing. You're talking about people trying to become computer people? Yeah. And David was here. One More Quarter was here. Dean. Nate. 4 Jacks. And I always miss 1 or 2. Sorry about that, Ryan. And did I say Boston Ray? Nice cozy crowd of geniuses. Thanks for hanging out, people. I'll come at you soon. If not later today, then sometime soon. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.